Hi, and welcome to the final video in the Midnight to Morning video series. We began this series by looking at the storytelling template in Genesis 1, which unveils the seven thunders of Revelation 10. Now, the seven thunders consist of one wheel of light that is used in two intersecting ways. We have a wheel of time and a wheel of spiritual communication based on the universal images of creation. During this midnight hour, I focused on the wheel of time. I demonstrated how the clock of seven thunders, which is another name for the one wheel, guides the bride of Christ through a sevenfold process of revelation in age-to-age timekeeping, from the time of the cross to the time of the morning star. I also mentioned that the seven thunders are hidden manna, promised to the bride of Christ at the end of the third letter to the church of Pergamum. And I stated that the promised hidden manna is being fulfilled during the midnight hour in the church of Thyatira, which is happening now. The hidden manna is the unveiling of the seven thunders, which illuminates the next 2,000 years that will include a four-step harvesting process: collecting weeds, tying them in bundles to be burned, harvesting grains of truth, and then hauling the grain to God's barn by the end of the eighth day, the sound of the seventh trumpet. The clock of seven thunders also illuminates the first millennium, during which the star in Revelation 9 is given a key to open the shaft of the abyss, that narrow passageway between mind and heart. During the first 1,000 years, which begins at midnight, the bride of Christ must prepare people for a second millennium, in which humanity's spiritual dragon is seized and bound for another 1,000 years. Now, the preparation for binding the Satan will involve reframing old ideas about the Satan, sin, and spiritual purity that no longer seem relevant as the human spirit moves into the future. It will involve using a great chain of human history to bind the lesser voice of the dragon that has deceived us and lied to us, along with the beastly government of temporality that has enforced rules and laws that we must obey. It will involve learning how to create purple light with God. Now, to accomplish all of these things that I've just mentioned over the course of the next 2,000 years, the bride of Christ must conduct a critical assessment of herself at this midnight hour. She must look at her outward-facing image in the world and her inward thoughts and desires. For this reason, immediately after hearing the seven thunders of Revelation 10, eating the little scroll, and then receiving instruction to prophesy again about many peoples, nations, languages, and kings, John of Patmos writes, "And I was given a measuring rod, a reed like a staff, and I was told, 'Come and measure the temple of God and the altar,'" presumably the altar of incense, "'and those who worship here.'" The Greek word kalamos refers to a reed or a stalk of grain, and when used as a rod, it signifies measurement and authority. The Greek verb metrio primarily means to measure or to ascertain the size, the quantity, or the degree of something, but the idea of measurement extended beyond the physical to include moral and ethical and spiritual evaluation of that which is being measured. So the measuring rod given to John of Patmos in the vision of Revelation 11 is for the purpose of evaluating God's house on earth, God's holy place, the temple where God's Spirit dwells, the prayers that are offered, as well as those who are praying and worshiping. We are being evaluated. We need to be evaluated. The Greek word for temple, or naos, refers specifically to the inner sanctuary, or the most sacred part of the temple where God's presence dwells. Metaphorically, the temple, then, is the body of Christ. It's us. So immediately after hearing the seven thunders, John is given a measuring rod to assess what the body, or the bride of Christ, is offering the world in response to God's love for the world. What are we offering? The Church Universal, in her present form, is offering an outward-facing image that looks identical to the hierarchical models of corporations in the secular world of business and enterprise, which suggests that her inward thoughts and desires also model a top-down approach to the idea of fishing for people. Does she presently reflect a Christian enterprise of religious instruction regarding the ins and the outs and the do's and the don'ts of right theological believing, instead of reflecting a kingdom of heaven that is like a fishing net, which meets all forms of human need by feeding sheep and tending lambs? Could the measuring rod of Revelation 11 indicate that the temple image does not presently measure up to the task of successfully leading peoples, nations, languages, and kings through the next 2,000 years in the life of the bride of Christ? If so, in what ways must the bride of Christ be transfigured during the passing of this midnight hour? Must she and her sister in faith, the First and Second Testaments, the two witnesses, or the 144 sealed tribes and the 4,000 sealed tribes, and the 144,000 followers of the Lamb, join together to fulfill the vision of Revelation 21, a holy city, a new Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband? Think about it. If this were the case, then fulfilling the vision of the new Jerusalem in Revelation 21 begins with the measuring rod given to John in Revelation 11, immediately after hearing the seven thunders embedded in Genesis 1. It's midnight, and the measuring rod is in our hands. The only question that remains is, how will we use it? This ends the Midnight to Morning video series, but it ushers in the next video series entitled The Bride's Transfiguration, preparing, organizing, and adorning the bride for her husband. Stay tuned. See you then.